Yo, what's good? So I see boxing becoming more like the WWE. And I know Blood Boxing's been saying this for a while. Shout out to Blood Boxing. Um, Boxing has become more sports entertainment than actual sports. There's a lot of talk about ratings and pay per view buys. Fans talking about that. And that's what wrestling fans talk about that. And before I get in this, I'm I don't know who I'm directing this video to because mainly I'm a boxing channel, but I do wrestling videos sometimes. And this is a video where I'm mixing both of them. So I'm kind of. This video is pretty much for nobody or anybody that just wants to listen. That's pretty much it. It's not for wrestling fans. It's not for boxing fans. It's for fans of both because I think both could relate to what I'm gonna say. I think you let me know, okay? So yeah, like I said, boxing has become sports entertainment, and we don't have to look any further than this Saturday. Danny Jacobs versus Peter Quillen is for the WBA regular champion. Champions are assigned. Championships are basically given. And that's what happens in wrestling. For those that don't know, wrestling is scripted. They decide who becomes champion. There's a designated winner. Usually it's in a great match, though. In a decent match, that's not guaranteed in boxing. And wrestling is all about money. It's all about the business. The greatest wrestler ever is considered Hulk Hogan, not because he could wrestle better than anybody else, not because he was more charismatic than everybody else, even though he might have been, not because he's the most athletic, because he's the strongest, but because he's the one that drew the most money, drew the most fans. That is Hulk Hogan. Basically, put wrestling on the map. It's about the money in wrestling. And people want to argue that other superstars or wrestlers, I say wrestlers, not superstars, because at the end of the day, you're still performing acts of athleticism. So a lot of people want to argue that he's not because he sucked in the ring. That's kind of irrelevant to that argument because Hulk Hogan is the greatest of all time because he's the one that drew the most money, and that's what it's about. And we have a certain fighter, a certain pretty boy that drew the most money and has made more money than any boxer in history, which is insane to do as a welterweight. When you really come to think about it, it's an amazing feat. And a lot of people want to put that into consideration for him being the greatest. And if you want to put him as the greatest, then you got to put Holyfield, Mike Tyson, and Oscar De La Hoya as your top four then. If you're going to use solely based on money. Because those guys are the biggest draws in history. But what irks me is that fans care so much about the business side. And even the fighters do it themselves. Oh, he hasn't earned the shot. Kind of reminds me when a fighter comes out, I want a shot at the title. Triple H, I want that title. I want a shot. And Triple H goes, well, Sonny, you'll have to earn your shot like everybody else. And this is what it is nowadays. But it's not, the promos aren't in the ring. It's these quote unquote reporters, these quote unquote journalists that put a mic in front of their face and they say, oh no, this guy hasn't earned this shot. I can't fight him. Or Wilder saying, Tyson Fury better remember that I'm the real heavyweight champion of the world. So there's a lot more talk. And that's what it's in wrestling. There's a lot of talk. I think Raw is 3 hours now. God. And a lot of it is talk. There's very little wrestling in a wrestling show because you have to build a narrative. You have to build a story. And for a fight, that's really not necessarily true unless you want to focus on making money. Unless it's solely about making money. We could wait 4 to 5 years to see a fight. Even though fighters pass their physical prime, the fight won't be as good. And people don't want to see it as much. Oh, so we thought. But it was that pay-per-view in May was the perfect time to make it. Money-wise, you cannot dispute that. People were angry with the results because it wasn't the greatest fight ever. But it generated the most money. It completed its purpose. The thing with the wrestling show, though, is that in order to complete its purpose, it would have to follow. Let's say WrestleMania 14, Stone Cold Steve Austin beat Shawn Michaels to win his first WWF title. And this is where, as JR would say it, the Austin era has begun. So you had your future superstar for the next 5 years. That was not a possibility in May because the winner was going to retire in maybe a year or right after anyway. So in wrestling, there's always a passing in the torch. In boxing, it has been, history tells us that there is always a passing of the torch, but it isn't necessarily that way. Just like when Jim Jeffries retired, instead of fighting Jack Johnson, he did eventually end up fighting Jack Johnson, but it was much too late. He got licked, like they would say then. But there was no passing of the torch then. He beat Marvin Hart. And no one has beaten Pretty Boy. So you can't say he passed the torch. Well, there's a lot of similarities now. Also, wrestling and boxing. I grew up watching these two things. I've watched boxing a lot longer, but in between my time where I stopped watching boxing, I watched wrestling. From 2002 to 2007, I wasn't watching boxing. I was watching wrestling, pretty much from De La Hoya Vargas up until De La Hoya Mayweather. I stopped watching boxing. And I was watching wrestling. Eddie Guerrero, Brock Lesnar, Chris Benoit, Chris Jericho, Edge, Undertaker, Booker T, Triple H, Evolution, Ric Flair, Randy Orton. It was, for me at least, it was a great time to start watching wrestling, and it was really fun. And when I started back watching boxing, it was really fun to me because it was new to me. Not brand new, but new in the sense that I hadn't watched this product in a long time. So it was a lot of fun reading Ring Magazine, waiting for the fights, watching 24/7 when it was new. Reading up on boxing, it was a lot of fun. And I still think boxing was good then. But as with wrestling, I don't know which one's worse now. Wrestling or boxing? What sport or form of entertainment is worse to watch, is less entertainment to watch? You could say wrestling because the product has gone downhill. The ratings have gone low. And people wouldn't be talking about that if the product was good. The same with pay-per-views. People wouldn't be talking about pay-per-view buys if the product was good, if it was worth it. when the Money Man fought Andre Berto, if that fight was a classic, I don't think anybody would talk about the pay-per-view rates or the buys. I'm still surprised that people were talking about Golovkin Lemieux, but I understand because it was his first pay-per-view. They wanted to see how he did, and some people cherished rubbing it in people's faces. Fans of Golovkin, they cherished rubbing it in with Triple G fans. I'm a Triple G fan, and I ordered the fight, and I don't care how well it did. I wanted to watch the fight. I thought it would be a great fight. It turned out to be a one-sided mismatch, but I really enjoyed the one-sided mismatch. I also enjoyed Chocolatito whooping Brian Viloria. I thoroughly enjoyed that pay-per-view. But you get trashed as a fan. Another similarity. I think maybe this will be the last one. Fans. There's been talk. A few channels have done videos. Boxing fans suck. Boxing fans argue over everything. They're never happy. Look, we got the two biggest fights we could have gotten this year. Maypac. We've been wanting to see this for 5 years, people. If you didn't like the fight, well, I'm sorry. But that's the fight you wanted to see for 5 years. That's the fight you wanted to see. And we got it. We wanted to see Cotto Canelo. And we got it. We're just so picky and we expect so much, including myself. I'm not happy as a boxing fan. And I got the fights, two of the biggest fights, the main fights that I wanted to see this year. I got them. And I'm still not happy about boxing. Because that's how petty boxing fans are. We argue over each other for being fans of fighters. We trash on others for being fans. We bring up their styles. We bring up their race. For no apparent reason. We bring up other fighters to compare them to. The contradictions. For no reason. I make a video about Tim Bradley and someone brings up Gennady Golovkin. Why? What's the point of that? He's irrelevant to the subject. Why are you bringing him up? Because you want to argue. Because that's the culture. Go watch a video from OTR Essential. Go watch his videos. He's been watching wrestling since the first WrestleMania in 1985, man. All he does is bitch and moan. Why am I going to watch a sport when all the fans, all the dedicated fans, just bitch and moan all the time? That's all wrestling fans do nowadays. Part of it's the product sucks. But part of it is on the fans too. Because you're never satisfied. You can't be happy with what's going on. And that's our problem, man. We want to argue with each other. We are never complacent with anything that happens. We're always asking for more. But when we get it, we're not satisfied with it. And it just makes the sport not fun. Honestly, the WWE and boxing are not fun anymore. They're not fun to watch. They're not fun to cover. There's a derogatory term in wrestling towards the fans. It's called a mark. They call you a mark if you're a fan. That used to be a term for all fans. And now it was basically turned into a term for fans that thought it was real. But now it's overused. You're a mark if you like certain wrestlers. Wrestlers themselves call the fans marks, which is basically saying you're stupid. You're uneducated about the business. Basically, you don't know shit about wrestling. And if you like a certain wrestler, or you think a certain way about wrestling, or you enjoyed a certain pay-per-view, a certain event, you're a mark. because you liked it and you don't know shit about wrestling. You don't know what you're talking about, you mark. You're just a fan. Yeah, I'm a fan. That's what we do here. We talk boxing. We talk wrestling. And I hope you see that a lot of these lines have been blurred. The fans, the enjoyment of the product, the quality of the product, it not being as fun over the years, arguing amongst the fans. Go to a wrestling page. I know because a lot of you already make videos in the YTBC, or if you're a wrestling fan and you haven't been into the YCBC, go watch any video with Floyd Mayweather in it. Any single video, you get a whole bunch of racist comments, a whole bunch of hate, a whole bunch of men telling other grown men to suck their dicks. The people telling each other, arguing over petty things. Petty things, man. Over the internet. Kind of stuff that makes you want to stop watching both products, man. But these are the only products that I enjoy viewing. Really, I like watching football. If you'd follow my channel for a while, you know what sports that I like. And boxing's the main one. Boxing is a sport. But it's become wrestling. And if I wanted to watch wrestling, I'd watch wrestling. But wrestling isn't fun either. So it's become a product that it's not, but the product that it's trying to emulate, or that it's emulating, maybe, and it's not trying to emulate, that product sucks nowadays. It sucks. Both the products suck. Too many champions, too many weight classes, too much talk. Too much story. And that's the problem in wrestling. Not enough story. Not enough wrestling. Not enough. Maybe not enough talk. Not enough talent. Not enough people getting shots at the title. In wrestling. In boxing, too many shots at the title. Too many champions. You still have trouble building stars, I think, in boxing. Because you don't let them develop like they should. Because fighters aren't fighting each other. Wrestlers are giving the shots, but they get buried. So they do reach the pedestal, but then they're torn down by "you can't see me." He's the Mayweather of WWE. John Cena is the Mayweather of WWE. He never wins. He's condescending. Nobody likes him. But we're stuck with him until he retires. And I think wrestling will be a lot better without him when he retires. But that's just my humble opinion. I thought boxing would get better when Mayweather retires. And we'll just have to wait a few years to see it. I'm not going to stop watching either product. Wrestling a lot less, of course, because I'm not as big as a wrestling fan as I once was. If it comes to its glory like it did, like in this picture, 1998, when you got Mike Tyson in it. Woo! He was so good in WWF. But if it goes back to its glory, then I'll go back to watch it. But I can't picture myself stop watching boxing at this moment. Definitely unmotivated to watch, unmotivated to make videos. But we'll just have to wait and see, man. And if you watch all this rambling, good for you. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate all the support. Shout outs to the YTBC. I haven't talked to some of you in a while. I hope you're all doing well, man. You guys have a great day.